We've never met in person, have we?
No, we were supposed to meet in person when you guys were supposed to come here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In May?
Yeah.
Which I just want to drink so bad with you guys. Like it's kind of like just in my core. Like every time I look at your page and, I'm just like following you guys, even the drink challenge you guys just did, I'm just like, I really feel like we could be best friends.
Welcome to the new series, Cocktails and Conversation with Kat and Nat. And we've decided to bring you all of these conversations with people that we like to have where there's a little bit of wisdom, always hilarity and hilaria. Yes. Some famous, some just cool, some drink, some don't drink, but there's always a conversation. Cheers, join us.
The fun we could have. Are you surviving over there?
I mean, there's so many different levels to even that question, It's like surviving. It's it's with the COVID, with everything going on with the riots and it's just, there's so much happening that it's hard to stay in the bubble without any of it. Because I mean, here's the thing, like we talked about this on our podcast, just the last, like today actually, but it's so hard to even know like what to say or the right words to say cause it's like, I never want to offend anyone. And I have a hard time being a white woman saying things. And it's just been, so that's when I called one of my African-American friends. I'm like, I don't know what to say, and I'm like, cause I'm like, I feel bad posting something at my pool, or I feel bad doing this. And it's just like, I don't know even what to do right now. So I think, so I don't know how we're surviving. We're good. We're hunkered down in our home and we don't really go anywhere. I'm kind of a homebody anyways. Like I don't really like to leave my house, but I mean, you girls know, I mean,
What's the difference? Curiosity. What did she say? Because I bet everyone's wondering, what did she say?
About how we could support her.
Yeah.
So I was like, because I told her, I was like, I kept writing something and then I deleted it a million times because I'm like, someone's going to get offended if I say this or if I do this. And look, at the end of the day, I'm not too worried about losing followers because I lose at least a couple thousand a day. So I'm like, that's cool. I'm just not their cup of tea. Fine. But with such a sensitive subject, that's where I just don't want to offend, for example, my African-American friend. And so I was like, what do I say? And she really explained it well on our podcast. And she said, she's like, I hear a lot of people saying all lives matter. And she said, that's true. All lives do matter. And she goes, but Black lives matter too. And I liked how she said the two part, because it's not discrediting what other people are like, well, what about our lives? And because all lives do matter, but right now in the injustices that, the Black community has faced, like their lives matter too. And I think that's just a really good statement that, might help resonate with other people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And, there's we've been saying like, there's so many great resources, and, if you are like wondering what you can do, there's places you can donate to help, because fundamentally people, these organizations need funding, and a lot of them don't get it. So there's like, if you're feeling like not proactive, not you, but people in the audience, there's books you can read, and there's literature everywhere.
Literally literature everywhere.
I can't even say it, everywhere. So, I mean, and honestly, you can't go wrong with bringing up the conversation, like,
yeah, no, for sure.
So thank you for bringing that up, because, this podcast will be evergreen, but I think that, we have a bulk of moms, and you are a huge, people love you. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they watched you on One Tree Hill or is that where like you think the biggest, where moms grew up with you, like our group grew up with you, so they're like, they feel like they know you? Do you think that that's what it is?
Yeah, I definitely think, I mean, my ultra core family of fans are One Tree Hill followers. I mean, obviously, some just started from the country music too, but my One Tree Hill, when I play a show, And even when we do like the live shows, it's like I always call out my One Tree Hillers, and they take over the entire audience. Like they're just screaming so loud. So yeah, I'll always thank my Tree Hillers, because they've kind of, I've had so many ups and downs in my career, and they've been there through the good and the bad, and they've supported, me through every step of the way, and relationships and everything else. So, but
So is right at the beginning or before COVID was like, you can't travel anymore. Weren't you in Ottawa, Quebec?
yeah,
Back?
I was, well, okay. So 2 weeks of the movie was supposed to be filming in Ottawa. The third week was supposed to be in Quebec City at the Ice Hotel. So when everything was like going down, and I will straight up say I was I guess it's a peasant or ignorant to it, but I was like, it's just like the flu. It's no big deal. Like, and I had that mindset, and, I'm like, I'm going to Canada, people. Like, I still have to work and support my family, and I'm doing it. And, I got a lot of hate for that, but it was like within hours, the second we got on the plane, and I should have known something was weird, because rarely do I have like a travel day, like planes canceled. That day that we woke up, our tickets got canceled. So we had to get a different flight and fly Air Canada. And so when we flew there, it was just, everything was changing by the minute. And like the next day I was calling my agents being like, what did I do? I made the biggest mistake ever. I just risked my kids' lives. I risked my husband, who's extremely asthmatic. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, how is production still going? Everything else is being canceled. Every single production is already canceled. And, my agent was just like, look, like you're contractually obligated to do this movie. And, we think it's kind of bad on the producers, outlook that they're not canceling it, but you can't really leave unless, like, they'll probably sue you if you want to leave. She's like, we can, if you feel that unsafe. And I was like, well, no, I don't want to get sued. I'm like, again, this is, I support the family, and I have to make money too. But we ended up filming. So a day after that, we started filming, and that was when the Prime Minister talked about shutting down the borders. And so I like had a panic attack on set. I was freaking out. And then we filmed one scene, and the second scene, they came in and said, all right, production's canceled. You have to go back to the States. And I was just like 48 hours later, after I packed my entire family, the kids, a month worth, and all their stuff that they have, the kids stuff. Yeah. Like, and I'm the kind of mom where when I go to a hotel or we're traveling somewhere, that second I get there, I unpack all of their stuff. So I had everything unpacked, and I had the groceries, and I had everything. And then it was just like within 1 hour, we had everything packed back up, and we were in a car to cross the border. It was crazy.
Wow. I remember watching it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And wasn't it like super cold at that time too in Canada?
It was freezing. It was so cold. I mean, like so cold. And yeah, it was nuts. And I felt bad, again, knowing that so many people couldn't get back home. And, here's my awesome friend who sent her dad's plane. Like I can't, I felt bad about that, but I was like, I just want to get my kids home, because now I felt like the worst mom imaginable that I put my kids through this.
Don't see the contracts and like the legal that, we all know in the industry that happen behind the scenes, and you can't really can't call the people out who are feeding, like it's a industry where you often don't own yourself. Someone else does, and you have to kind of show up and do what they do,
Is the plan the movie is, what's the word?
Postponed?
Postponed?
Well, currently the Ice Hotel is melted. So as of right now, the movie is officially canceled. I don't know if it'll go back, and who knows if they'd even hire me back. I mean, I don't know, like we'll see. So it's a bummer. And I was so bummed because Quebec City looked beautiful. I couldn't wait to, And auto was really nice too. I didn't get to see anything because everything was shut down, but I was so bummed. But you know,
I have for you that kind of like a lot of people know you, a lot of people listen to your podcast and then or watch you on Instagram, or maybe they do both, but you're super open on your podcast and less on Instagram in terms of like everything you share. Is that for a reason, or is that just too much to write in one page, or what do you think? You know, because a lot of women follow us, and I think that, in my opinion, your openness and vulnerability is so rare. And I think that vulnerability and openness helps people, even when the people who are the loudest take you down. It's the people who are the quietest who need it the most. You know what I mean? So what do you think? What is that?
Why I'm more open on the podcast?
Yeah.
It's a good question. Here's probably where I'll say, you know, I feel like I don't, good question. When I'm recording, I still put things in my mind that are authentic to kind of what's going on. So like whether, now is it an everyday thing? No, like not every day. And I'm like, I want to pull my hair out. My kids are annoying me. I hate my husband today. Like, I just don't want that every single day. Because I want to show the different parts of my life too, the good, the bad, the music, the, you know, things I'm loving or using. And so I think showing a wide range of that, because the majority of my life is happy with my kids. It really is. Like, I genuinely love being a mom, and I love being with my kids, and I genuinely love my husband. You know, do we have really bad fights sometimes and we get down and gritty? Yes. And we share about that on the podcast because we have since talked about it and recovered. And something that we learned like on the podcast was when we shared something too soon. And we realized that sharing a wound is okay. Sharing a scar isn't, or wait, sharing a scar is better than sharing a wound because it's not healed yet. And so we've realized that that's better to wait a little bit and not have it so real time. But I mean, I feel like I keep it as real time as when it comes to like the kids and me pulling my hair out, but also showing like, you know, I don't want to, because, you know, it's people, it's just having different levels of it, because if I complain too much, people are going to get upset about that. So I'm like, okay, let me just do what I think is the normal amount of how much my kids are annoying me and how much of this and that and the other. So
did you feel like when you sit and you do the podcast with your husband, it's like therapy? Because I can imagine, like, I would never sit down and talk to my husband for long periods of time without interruption.
No, not only do they sit down and talk, they talk about issues, like
their issues.
You have shared like infidelity. You have shared like not just small, like we got in a fight over the garbage. Like you share like, I mean, it's so, I don't know who else is doing it in a way that you guys you recover with the people almost. And people are like, it's like they are healing beside you. It's so I mean, interesting to watch, and that's why I think they feel so connected to you.
I mean, I really appreciate you saying that. It can be hard to, like, when I do look at certain reviews and it's like, oh, you're always putting your husband through the mud, or it's always about what your husband's doing wrong. It's never good enough for you. And sometimes, like, introspectively, I love the negative comments because I'm like, is it always about me? Like, am I putting my husband through the mud all the time? And I have to look at it and go, you know what? I have. And in certain episodes, I listen back and I'm like, you're absolutely right. I was super disrespectful. And, you know, I think and just like owning it and then moving on and doing better. And even with the stuff that we talk about, we know now at the end of the day, we're not going to get 100% approval rate, which I strive for every day. And I know it's never going to happen, but even though I still believe maybe one day, but I know that's not going to happen at the end of the day. And for my husband and I, we're going to keep sharing, because we know there are certain people that are listening that actually can get something from it. And hey, we don't, like, even with our book, like we have a book coming out in September called The Good Fight. While we're still editing and reading our book right now, we're like, man, we need to do better at this. Like, we're preaching something that our therapists have taught us, and we are still doing a really crappy job at it. So we need to do better, you know, like, and so I think it's just constantly like just talking about how we are nowhere near. And that's where I'm like, in the book, so many times we say, we are not perfect. We do not have this figured out. This is just what we've learned to get to where we are today, but we still have to do better at the things that we're talking about.
But how do you, because I think a lot of people, we are speaking for the audience, but how do you as a person recover from, you know, like the things that you've shared, like infidelity? How do you push through and build, like, I think
so many people say like so many people's thing is, if he were to cheat, I would be out the door.
You said the same thing.
Okay, and never come back. But I'm always like, well, I mean, there's so much to think about other than just that, you know, you've been like betrayed that you know, that time. And there's so much more to the relationship, more to the family and all of that. Like, I think that the people who say, I'd be out and you'd never see me again. I'm like, people judge people in certain ways who don't, and you can't unless you've been there, you know what I mean? Like, you can't judge anyone based on, you know, marriage is a made up institution that we have adapted as we've gone, and decided what's right and what's wrong, but that doesn't mean it's right or wrong for, like, what happens in a marriage isn't definitive for every person, you know?
Sure. And it's hard. And you know, to your point, I said that exact same thing. I was like, if you ever cheat on me, I'm out. Bye. I don't deserve that. Nah. Like I said, all of it. When I found out, I had a 4-month-old little girl. And I was just like, wait a minute. Like, my gut was like, leave. But I'm like, I have a 4-month-old little girl. I don't want to do this by myself. I don't want to break our family apart. I don't want, because of what he did, to now mess up what I know that, like, we've worked for and we strive for. And my little girl, like, I was like, I at least have to try for her. And I get the women, like the women that leave, that's just as hard as staying, just as hard.
Yeah.
I get that. But I know what I had to do for myself to know that I knew in that moment I wasn't ready to walk away, because I had to fight for my kids. And through that, it's been freaking hell. It's been hard. But I feel like the silver lining is that now we're in a place where, you know, we know certain boundaries, and, you know, there are certain times it's like there's this lady that I talked to on my DMs, and she's like, you know, how much is, like, when is it enough? And I'm like, you'll know. Like, you'll know when you get to the breaking point. And it's funny, like Michael and I, it's not funny, but like, we've had conversations where I was like, your infidelity isn't going to be the reason that we end up, if we ever get divorced. It'll be about maybe how our communication barrier is bad. It's not going to actually be about the affair itself. And so that's the pieces that, like, we're now trying to work on. It's like, yes, the affair piece is always going to be there, but now it's so much more about how we can communicate better and how we can be in a relationship together and how we can respect each other, because I haven't done it perfectly. He hasn't done it perfectly. And it's just, no matter if there's affair or alcohol or sex, like my husband's sex addiction, like it's just hard work. It's hard to live with someone, especially during 24/7. And like, it's just hard, and a family and kids and like the stresses. It's just so hard.
For people that are listening, and you just said my husband's sex addiction, if they haven't listened to your podcast, they don't know that. Excuse me? Could you give a little background on that?
Yeah. I mean, so it's not as, so sex addiction is, it can be a porn addiction. It's all wrapped into a sex addiction. And so, yeah, he got diagnosed 4 years ago. And a lot of people will say it's just an excuse for a man to be a man. And I disagree. And I just would ask people to do their research to learn more about it. It's not as socially acceptable as alcoholism. But, you know, it's like when an alcoholic walks into a bar, it's probably not the best place for them to be. Same with a sex addict who maybe walks into, or that's where my husband ran to. My husband didn't go to a drink. He ran to validation of other women.
Coping, right?
Yeah. And that's what we all do. We cope, and some turn into an addiction.
They're going to want to know, how do you keep yourself like feeling, like validated, as like, how do you keep you feeling good every day about yourself? Because I think a lot of us, what you're talking about is, so that's your symptom in your relationship that causes strife, right? For some people, it's they're workaholics, their husbands, or their husbands are, absent and they don't communicate with their spouses, but they'll go hang out with their buddies and have the best time, right? Everyone's got symptoms in their relationships that cause problems. Mm-hmm. So, and then they beat themselves up because they feel like they're not doing enough. So how do you stay confident? Because
so for the first 2 years, I was the most insecure. I would put on the biggest padded bras and push my boobs up to, and I'm very small beat, like super small, but I would get those big ass bras, push them up, and I would intentionally be like, hey, like, look at me. Do you like me? Do you want me? Because in my mind, I'm like, well, he clearly slept with other people because I'm not pretty enough, or I don't have big enough boobs, or my ass isn't big enough, or maybe I didn't give him enough sex, or, all the things in my head that I made up. So I started to morph into this other fucking person. And it was, sorry, I didn't mean to swear. Oh, we can swear on your podcast? Okay, we can't swear on mine, so.
Oh, girl, we talk like everything over. We talk about sex, blades, and like, it's crazy over here. There's no everything. Okay. Don't you worry.
Okay. Yeah, so I was miserable, and it made him uncomfortable because he's like, that's not what he's like, it had nothing to do with you. And it took me 2 years to really believe that. And, it's so nice to not wear those padded bras because they hurt and I didn't like them. And but it just takes time to realize that whatever your husband or your wife is doing, it's not about you. It's about their own traumas and childhood wounds and whatever else that they are going through. And personally, I just don't believe and I know now it had nothing to do, he didn't cheat because I didn't look a certain way. And now I think just like realizing that has been very freeing for both of us, because I don't have to feel like I have to be something that I'm not, because I am who I am. And, but granted, there's things inside of the relationship. Like, I was awful to him when he came back from rehab. The things that I said to him, how I shamed him. And granted, was I right to say those things? Yes, but no. Like, I was angry, but at the same time, you can't shame someone for the rest of their lives.
How long was rehab?
He was gone for 70 days.
Wow. And does he always have to fight the fight? Like, it's like not ever gone. He's got to continuously work on his rehabilitation.
He does a meeting every week. Now they're doing Zoom meetings because of everything. So he has a sponsor, and he does the 12-step, but I also have my recovery work I have to do too. Like, I have to see it, I see a therapist, we see a therapist together. Like, wow. I have to do just as much work as he has to do, because I get triggered all the time. Like, just even today, I was like, hey, do you mind just checking in on the Life 360? And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you're triggered. But in the past, he'd be like, of course you're fucking triggered. I can't fucking go anywhere without you, like, thinking I'm sleeping with. And I'm just like, that was the past. And we would just like fight. But until you can be like empathetic and have empathy for each other, that was like the key to our marriage working. And that was honestly, that just happened within the last year that he found that empathy piece. It took a long time.
And I mean, you guys, so many people just walk away from marriages. So, it seems like so easily. Like, you guys have had to work
so hard for it, which means you must really want this commitment to be together. And it honestly, it genuinely, like when I'm watching you guys, it seems like you have a friendship, like you really enjoy each other's company as friends. Would you say that?
Absolutely. I mean, I love my husband. We have fun together. We, you know, as a family, like, oh my God, our family time is my favorite time. Like, we're just like fun with the kids. He's an amazing dad. Like, he's an incredible dad.
You can see that.
We have game nights, and it's just like, I enjoy being around him. Now, is he a total asshole and fights and mean? Sure. But guess what? I can be nasty too. And so I think, we both, there's so much love there. We're just learning how to fight better, and communicate better. And that's just, you know, we're just going to be forever on that journey to keep doing better. But I also know, like, the grass isn't greener somewhere else. Someone's going to have their issues. But in my mind, I'm always just like, oh, I'll just leave. And I'm like, the next person's going to have issues. They might look shiny for like a month, and then it's going to go straight back to just shit.
But guess what? You're like almost ahead of the game, because a lot of people don't know why their relationship, they don't know what they're missing. And like, they sit there, and I think we hear so many women trying to work twice as hard as their spouses to make the relationship right. And you're constantly filling an empty hole, and you think it's something wrong with you. And inevitably you begin to like take away at your own self-esteem because it keeps failing. You know what I mean? And I think that the fact that you guys are like repairing and conversing and working on yourselves. You know, when we went to Oprah, she was like, the thing that struck me was like, I've never set foot in a therapist's office, but she's like, but I talk to people all day long and I work through what they're doing. So don't discount the way you guys are talking is actually helping people work through their own ways who might not have access to therapy or who might not be able to afford it, you know? So with your conversations, you guys are really helping build bridges because you're showing something that nobody else shows in a way of the raw and the real. And I think it should be applauded, not taken down. And I think we all can take back moments in our marriage where we're like, shit, you know, that was wrong and I shouldn't have done that. But at the end of the day, we're all people, you know?
Are you saying that you guys fight too? Like other marriages have fights?
I was actually just saying, I know like a lot, when you say you guys both have that passionate way of like fighting like that, I would say there are always issues in every marriage. And of course we have our own ways with our husbands. We're not passionate fighters with our husbands.
I'm an ex-social worker, Jana, and my husband, I'm like this. I can tell you're feeling upset right now, but this is something you need to work through. Like I lay it on, and he's like, fuck, like he does not like it, but it's almost worse because I will literally reflect, validate, and then not blame. And he's like, fuck, you know what I mean? Because you almost want to get into it sometimes.
Wow.
But,
yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, I'm sure.
Not for him. He's an ex-hockey player and he's a fighter and he probably wants to get in there and get in. She's like, let's talk about this. I understand the way you're feeling. How about
I tell him that we have like a coming of, what do I say? Like a moment where I'm like, oh, he needs to talk.
Quarterly, she's like, he needed to sit down, talk.
Where, you know, I'm like, let's reflect. And then I also make him tell me 5 things he loves about me. Like, I know my love language, and I think a lot of people don't think about what they want, and then they get mad at their spouse for not giving them what they need, but they have never realized what they want. And they're just like, he's an asshole. And he's like, I didn't know you wanted that. I would have just gotten you flowers weekly if you wanted that, you know?
1,000%. I know we've talked about love languages too, and it's so interesting because so many times I'm like, why doesn't he like this? Like, oh, because it's not his love language. But if I clean out his car or I clean out my wrapper that I put in his car, he's like, oh my God, she loves me. And I'm like,
that's my husband's love language. Her husband like needs to be touched 24/7, and she's like, I don't like to be touched. And he's like,
come on, just hug me. I'm like, space, like his I always say to him, space.
He would sit on her if he could. Like
One time he was like, when we were getting into the conversation, he's like, I find it really like hurtful when you laugh and you say that space thing, because he's like, it's like you never want to be too close. And I'm like, come on, it's funny. And I mean it. I need space.
Oh God, I love this.
oh
Do
yeah.
you guys miss being out on the road?
Do you? I mean, you went with him, which is crazy, but it was
I do miss going on the road without him. Yes, I do.
It was really, I don't know about you, but I feel like we used to have so much fun.
We used to laugh so
all
much.
day.
God, I loved it. You just like from the airplane ride that you guys would story to the hotel, like sleeping in the bed, like, then the Spanx in the mirror. Like, I miss it. I need it.
Oh my God.
And the whole tour family and the strippers. I mean, it's all it's just not there anymore. We miss it.
We need girl time. And like, that's what, like, you're the girl time that like, that fix that we all need. And it's like, it's even just the other day, I was like, I just want a slumber party with my girls, like something to get away.
Motherhood was not meant to be 24/7 for children who are growing up into grown-ups. And I mean, we can't give them all that we need. I believe babies and like toddlers, you can give them everything you need, but the teens, like the tweens and the 8-year-olds, you can't, as a mother, you cannot give them everything they need, because that's not natural for them to be in their house without, they want to grow up. And we're like, we get a bit nervous that, we're stifling their independence a bit, and like that they're getting like these launching years are kind of like being smothered, and they're becoming more independent on us and
dependent on us.
I mean, more dependent, like they didn't feel like this. And I think every mom's feeling like a bad mom. And I'm like, guys, it's not meant to be, you're not supposed to have no help. You're not supposed to have no one to talk to or to be around or no.
I miss missing my kids. I miss missing my husband. Like I miss that part too. Like to come back. I'm always a better mom when I come back, Yeah.
And the mental load of all day, and then of the world, and then right. It's just like, you're just like, and then if I have to make another meal, I said to Nat, I think I'm done maybe eating for life. Like, I don't even know if I need food.
I feel the same way. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now what am I going to eat next?
Yeah. But I wish I could be like, I wish I could just say I'm done with that, because cooking is like.
Are you the cook in the house?
No, I was just going to say, I told my husband this. I was like, Mike, because we got into like a thing earlier this year, or like right before the new year. And I was like, if we would have gotten divorced, I would have 1000% taken you back because of COVID, because I don't cook at all. Like he is the
cook a meal.
I don't cook at all. I'm not a cook. I don't like cooking. Like the only thing I can cook are like those home chef meals, because it comes with exactly what to do, or like frozen pizza.
How did you not get that job? How did you not get
because if you just never do it, then it's it's like me and the laundry.
Does he like cooking?
He loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he loves it. And he's a great cook. Like tonight, like he's, every night. I mean, last night we did frozen pizza, because it's like mom's night, frozen pizza. Like it's just like not a cook.
What's your relationship like with your mom?
Oh, my mom's my best friend. I love her. Yeah. She was a young mom, and we were best friends. And I hope that same thing, I had not a disagreement. Well, no, it was a pretty much disagreement with someone on our podcast. He said that you shouldn't be your kids' friends. And I said, you're a parent can be a friend. But I just disagree. I feel like I can be a parent and a friend, but know the limits. Like, for example, my mom, now I'm not condoning underage drinking. So like, let's start there. But like, I've never been drunk, because I believe my mom said, do you want to try this? Do you want some? And I was like, no, actually, like, or I think I tried a sip of the wine cooler, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I never picked up another drink until I was like later in my like 20s. So like, I think just having that open communication and talking to your kids was something that I want to take from my mom to my kids. So.
Yeah.
I think that that is absolutely a great theory. And if you could, like, you know, in our podcast, we interview men too. And often we talk about, you know, we all take something from our mom, and there's usually every woman, a lot of women right now go to bed wishing that they could be a different mom, or they could look different or be different. And then we always ask them, would you have changed your mom? And would you have changed your mom?
So this is tough because, you know, I've done obviously a lot of therapy around like childhood wounds, and like, you know, my dad had an affair on my mom, and, you know, I always blamed my dad for years. And my dad and I had a terrible relationship, and I would date men like 20 years, my senior, like 20 years older than me, because I just wanted that love and validation from a father figure. And while I was doing a bunch of therapy in my 20s, I realized a lot of my issues, and it broke my heart, stemmed from my mom staying in an unhealthy, unhappy relationship. And my dad, different from Mike, my dad wasn't willing to fight. My mom stayed in something where she should have left. And so I think I saw that as, I'm not calling my mom weak, I don't want to say that, but I wish she would have left my dad before I saw other things in my adolescence. I would have liked them to have divorced before I was 13.
Okay.
So you have a goal of what not to do, which is
Here's the thing. I will say, like, in the second we, you know, I understand fighting in front of your kids, and we do a really good job of letting them see resolution and not letting it get heated. Like if it's going to get heated, we're like, let's take it to the room, or when they're asleep or whatever. But I don't want my kids to ever see weakness in the fact of feeling stuck, or because, you know, maybe my mom couldn't afford to move us somewhere, or whatever it is. Like, I want Jolie to not see that. So
That's interesting.
I mean, that's something you carried with you, which is, I mean, that's so interesting that women will now reflect on that and be like, huh, you know, because I think we all think about what we want our kids to take with them, and how we make them feel is what we all want them to take with them, right? Yeah. What they felt at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
You are like,
you're so interesting and beautiful, and
I love you.
Where can everyone find you? And I mean, I will link your podcast, and we'll link, but if they're listening, where can they find you if they're listening on Apple?
So Wind Down podcast. And then if you go to janaandmike.com, you can pre-order The Good Fight. Pre-order huge for the first week. So
when's it coming out?
September 22nd.
The Good Fight.
Is that pre-sale too, or is pre-sale on right now?
Pre-sale's on right now, and it's really important for pre-sales, just because of, you know, that's counts for the first week. So yeah,
girl,
love to.
Yeah, we do it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go order it right now. And where can they get that? Everywhere?
Yeah, and anywhere. But if you Amazon, Barnes and Noble, like yeah, just janaandmike.com, and it'll have all the info to where to get it. So
they go tell them to go to the bookstore, because it counts as even higher.
Well, if you go to Parnassus, if you go to janaandmike.com and you click on Parnassus, it's a local bookstore here in Nashville, and if you buy it from them, we're doing personalized copies.
Well, if you ever have like an early copy out there that you need a review about, we'd like to get our hands on it as soon as possible.
Okay.
I don't want to wait till September.
No, don't worry, you guys are going to get an advanced copy. So
thank you for being so open. Thank you for being so open.
Honestly, honest.
It's like I haven't talked or done anything. I think that people can just learn so much from the way you speak about topics, because it's like you're raw, but you're not so raw that it feels like you're hurting. It's like
it doesn't feel like you're falling apart.
Yeah.
It's like you know what? You've learned to talk about your scars and not your wounds.
Mm-hmm. I love you guys so much. I do.
Girl.
I just cannot wait to have a drink.
We're coming. And yeah, we can't wait either when this border opens up.
We're coming for you. And we
Okay.
can't
Love you, friends, so much.
meet your hot husband too.
Anything you need.
Really
Honestly,
hot. I think so too.
He is hot.
she
Yeah.
loves. I mean, why
I think he is hot too.
Remember who really loves him.
she's like, yeah,
He's
they.
a hot guy. He's got a deep voice, and he seems like such a good dad. What's up? You guys are such a hot couple. Yeah.
He's a
I
good
love your pick, by the way. We'll chat soon, and
Okay, love you.
it's Nashville. I'm texting you.
All right. Love you, friends. Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.